Ambassador Zexthul adjusted his breathing apparatus as the transport descended through Kepler 442c's atmosphere. The readings on his scanner made no sense. Where his database indicated a dead, barren world with toxic soil and unbreathable air, his instruments now detected flourishing vegetation and a breathable atmosphere. Impossible, he muttered in his native tongue, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as they always did when he was confused. 50 years ago, the Galactic Council had unanimously agreed on humanity's punishment. The young species had dared to question the Council's authority, demanding representation despite being newcomers to the galactic community. Their audacity had been unprecedented. No species had ever challenged the established order so brazenly. The sentence had been exile. Not to a prison world or a harsh but survivable planet. That would have been too merciful. They had chosen Kepler 442c specifically because it was uninhabitable. The soil was saturated with heavy metals, the atmosphere was a cocktail of toxic gases, and the planet's unstable core meant frequent seismic activity. It was meant to be a slow death sentence, a warning to other upstart species. 12,000. Humans had been loaded onto basic transport ships with minimal supplies and dumped on the surface. The Council had given them environmental suits that would last maybe 6 months and enough rations for 3. No terraforming equipment, no atmospheric processors, no advanced technology, just basic tools and the clothes on their backs. The plan had been simple. Let them die slowly while the galaxy watched. It would serve as an example of what happened when young species overreached. As the transport broke through the cloud layer, Zexthul's mandibles clicked involuntarily, a sign of extreme shock among his people. Below him stretched verdant forests, crystalline rivers, and what appeared to be cities. Not the primitive shelters he might have expected from survivors, but actual cities with geometric patterns that suggested advanced planning and engineering. The pilot, a nervous Quilarian, spoke without taking his eyes off the controls. Ambassador, I'm reading multiple settlements. Population appears to be... This can't be right. Over 2 million. 2 million? Zexthul's voice cracked. There were only 12,000 exiles. Sir, I'm also detecting artificial satellites in orbit and what appears to be a space elevator under construction. The transport landed in a designated area marked by sophisticated guidance beacons. As the doors opened, Zexthul was greeted not by the environmental suits he expected, but by humans breathing freely in the open air. They wore clothes made from materials he didn't recognize, and their leader, a middle-aged woman with silver-streaked hair, approached with a confident stride. Ambassador Zexthul, she said in perfect galactic standard, though with a slight accent he couldn't place. I'm Director Sarah Chen. Welcome to New Eden. How? Was all he managed to say. Sarah smiled, and there was something in that expression that made Zexthul's respiratory organs flutter nervously. Walk with me, Ambassador. Let me show you what humans do when you tell them something is impossible. They walked through the settlement, no, the city, and Sarah began to explain. The humans had arrived to find exactly what the Council had promised, a toxic hellscape. But instead of lying down to die, they had done what humans apparently did best. They had adapted. The soil was poisoned, Sarah said, gesturing to vast agricultural fields stretching to the horizon. So we didn't fight it. We worked with it. Our biologists discovered that certain earth plants, when genetically modified, could actually thrive in heavy metal-rich soil, not only survive, but use those metals to grow stronger and produce more nutritious food. They passed a group of children playing in a park where impossible flowers bloomed in shades of blue and silver. The atmosphere was toxic, Sarah continued, so we didn't try to change it all at once. We found organisms, some from Earth, some native to this world, that could gradually convert the harmful gases into oxygen. It took 20 years, but we turned the entire atmosphere into something breathable. Zexthul stopped walking. The seismic activity? Geothermal energy, Sarah replied matter-of-factly. We built our cities to flex with the earthquakes, and we used the planet's instability to power our civilization. What was meant to kill us now sustains us. They reached an observation deck overlooking the space elevator construction. Massive cables stretched up into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. But the population growth, Zexthul said weakly. 12,000 to 2 million. Sarah's smile became wider. Ambassador, when you put humans in an impossible situation, we don't just survive, we thrive. We had geneticists, engineers, doctors, farmers, teachers, all of them exiled for the crime of asking for a voice in galactic affairs. We took those brilliant minds and we built something the galaxy had never seen before. She gestured to the thriving world around them. We didn't just terraform this planet. We transformed it into something better than it ever was. And yes, our population grew. When people are working toward a common goal, when they have hope and purpose, life finds a way to flourish. Zexthul looked at the readings on his scanner again. The planet wasn't just habitable. By every metric, it was more habitable than most council worlds. The air was cleaner, the water purer, the soil more fertile. What do you want from the council? He asked quietly. Sarah turned to face him, and her expression grew serious. Nothing, Ambassador. We stopped needing the council's approval 50 years ago. We've been sending messages to the galaxy, not to the council, but directly to the people. Other species who've been told they're not ready, not worthy, not evolved enough for a voice in their own governance. She pointed to the sky where Zexthul could now see ships in orbit, ships of designs he didn't recognize. They're coming here, Ambassador, the Zelthak miners who were deemed too primitive for council membership, the Vorth artists whose culture was considered incompatible with galactic civilization, the Hasari scientists who asked too many inconvenient questions. They're all coming to New Eden. Zexthul felt his respiratory organs seize. You're building an alliance. We're building something better, Sarah corrected. A coalition of species who believe that intelligence and potential aren't determined by how long you've been traveling, the stars, but by what you do when faced with the impossible. As if summoned by her words, a ship descended from orbit, sleek, powerful, and bearing the insignia of New Eden. More transports followed, carrying hopeful immigrants from across the galaxy. The council wanted to make an example of us, Sarah said, watching the ships land. They succeeded. We're showing the galaxy that you don't need permission to be great. You just need the courage to prove that what they call impossible is just another word for opportunity. Zexthul looked around. At the impossible world the humans had built from nothing but stubbornness and ingenuity. In the distance, he could see construction projects that defied conventional physics, agricultural systems that turned poison into plenty, and a space elevator that reached toward dreams the council had tried to crush. What should I tell the council? He asked. Sarah's smile returned, but this time it held something that made Zexthul understand why the galaxy was beginning to change. Tell them, she said, that when you try to kill the human spirit, you only make it stronger. and tell them that New Eden's doors are open to anyone who's tired of being told what's impossible. As Zexathul's transport lifted off hours later, he looked down at the thriving world below and realized that the Council hadn't just failed to destroy humanity. They had accidentally created something far more dangerous than a single stubborn species. They had created hope,